up to his name.
Fits his home set. How does it fit the setting different than M&M3E? I have so many questions.
Wow, right? I guess we'll find out. Maybe
we will.
There will be messaging.
Oh, we will. I just asked that question live on the air.
Yes,
you
you did.
Sure did. You did, because it's Mumamo. That means Mutants and Masterminds Monday. And we come to you every single Monday to talk about Mutants and Masterminds.
We do.
We do?
Yeah, we do. And you can hear the two voices hidden behind this modesty shield, but I shall reveal their faces.
Ah, my modesty.
But we are live, friends, and I'm looking into the chat, and I see Grognard talking about M&M 1E.
There's a blast from the past, let me tell you.
Right? Yeah, I mean, how many years ago?
Gosh, more than 20 at this point?
Yeah, 23?
Quiet Squire. Squire says on time.
Shush you.
Shush you. But yes, indeed, on time. And I'm presuming everyone can hear audio all right. I've been kind of playing around in the background and trying to fix things, and that usually breaks things. Sean Holland says, hello, all. Good to see you.
We didn't get our jaunty theme music this time, Troy.
I know, right?
You didn't?
No, we did not.
I didn't hear it if you played it.
I did play it.
Oh.
Oh. Then we
it
must
had
have
been
missed
playing
it.
this whole time. Audio's okay. Raymond, did you hear us? Did you hear the jaunty tune?
Might have just been us.
Do.
That's a new occurrence, if you couldn't hear it.
That's how Alex didn't know we were live, because he didn't have to hear the music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on this day, GM Jonesy reminds me that it's Happy GM's Day.
Yes, indeed.
What a great holiday.
This is the day when you kiss your GM on the lips with consent. And thank them. Yeah, Claude, I know, right? Claude says, y'all beat me
Where
here?
have you been, Claude? We've been waiting.
Really? Yeah, honestly. This is new time. We're on Mutants and Masterminds Monday Standard Time. Apook says, happy Mumamo superfan. Nope, just you talking. Okay.
See? No music.
What in the hairy heck? What's that about? That's a new problem. I heard the whole thing. Here, let me try it again.
All my homies mouth kiss their GM.
As they should. You don't hear that, huh?
Again, with enthusiastic GM consent.
Yeah, I mean, are they really your homies if they don't kiss you on the mouth?
I mean, right. But you don't hear that music?
No.
What
it's
in
just
the
in your head.
fribbity flippin' jibbity doop?
That's just the train station that is Troy.
Yeah, well, it sounds great.
I'll take your word for it.
But if you can't hear it, yeah, exactly. I don't know why. A problem for another time.
Indeed.
Now, Master Mood approves.
Master Mookapoo.
Master Mook. All the GMs in the Freedomverse get a free PP to apply to one of their characters. Nice. That's nice.
Yes.
Of course, that means PowerPoint.
I sincerely hope.
Probably. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So, so Grunkner Piper says, yep, it fits my setting perfectly. So we're switching to first edition. Okay.
I'm really curious how it fits differently than the other editions of M&M.
Yeah.
If you have any insight, Grognard. Yeah.
Everyone's getting out their dusty tomes, cracking them open, and learning Latin again. It's wild.
Right.
Thanks, Gerald. Yeah, I don't know why there's no music, but, the music in my soul is playing loudly, and we get to talk about getting past the nerves and to the role play of it all. Because I don't think we really spend a lot of time dissecting that, discussing it. And I think that we should. It's about time. But I have a question for the chat as well. When you're getting ready to GM, when you're getting ready to be a player, what kind of prep do you do to get your roleplay chops in order? It's very rare that people will be able to just pop into a roleplay and then be somebody. I mean, we're not all Brendan Lee Mulligan, but the question, when you, I figured, when. Because I'm laughing.
Need a moment?
I do. Timbo said, the cafeteria in my soul. And then said, music. I meant music. That's quite an autocorrect. Yes, started my ABCs of Eminem posts on threads today. Okay, ABCs of Eminem. I like that. Claude, you're often running sort of fun features or interactive sort of things around Mutants Masterminds and superheroes in general, and I dig that quite a bit. Hanover Fist says, I hear a lot of people listening to music before the game to get their face. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sure.
That's really why not? Yeah,
I love
It would be
music
kind of-
to get in the right mindset.
yeah, if you like picked a playlist that sort of embodied the emotions of your who you're playing, and that's really great.
Helps
so-
for plotting too. My Starhaven campaign was based on Operation Mindcrime by Queensrÿche.
Right?
Got it. Cool. Very cool. Let's see. Squire says take half a Valium. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? That's what I do for every program.
It's a good solution.
It really is. Let's see. Hi, SC Terran Marine. Good to see you. I usually just practice monologuing as the big bad, says Claude. Absolutely. Roleplay chops. It's chops. Roleplay chops
yes.
form the GM side. From the GM side, familiarize yourself with everyone's backstories, the important people on their lives, and of course a deep dive on their complications. I like that a lot. Grognard says, there's something about the rules that just vibe right into my setting. Talking about the 1E, it's hard to put it into words other than a vibe. Okay.
Well, we're all about vibes here, so
Yeah, vibes are that's a
absolutely.
valid reason.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, sort of
let's see.
to unbury the lead. Today we're talking all about how to get into that right mindset for your role playing. Some tips and tricks on how to develop your character and stay in character. And all the fun things that make a role playing game more than just ROLL. It makes it ROLE.
Yeah.
That's
indeed.
right. Absolutely. Now, Mark Andre Huel says it's okay to cheat. Write out your villain's soliloquy. Why not?
Sure. There's nothing wrong with having some written notes.
Yeah, and it could
Just
be,
understand that your players are going to shoot them in the face before you get the monologue.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, but commensurate with how much you've worked on it. If you work really hard on it, then of course they will stop you before you get a chance.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's really just, I think, writing something out in advance. You want to make sure that it's brief and pithy enough that you can get it in before they jump in and shoot you in the face or say, no, it's not dark. I have dark vision.
Yep.
Well, you know what's interesting about this
is
that...
Sorry, go ahead, Troy.
Oh, no, please, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, or feel free to, have your master villain paralyze all of your heroes, give them all a hero point, and tell them for every, paragraph of the soliloquy you read, they can have another resistance check.
That's perfect. I like that. We should codify that into a little write-up. Hey, I did want to say this. So I have a background in theater. Alex actively engaged in theater. Steve is
completely untheatrical,
but so competent and so amazing that Steve will be the kind of person that when you work with him and he'll say, hey, do you think I should write up this thing that I've just written up, and here's 5 different drafts and it's perfect in every way. And so preparing is something you do very well, and I think
fairly, yeah. But I think speaking from the non-theatrical perspective, I will say that especially in this day and age of streaming shows and the like, that it's really important for folks who are playing RPGs, and especially who are new to RPGs, if they've learned them from watching them on streams and the like, to understand that not everyone is a professional voice actor.
Right.
Not everybody is a gifted thespian. Not everyone is great at improv, and that's okay. Because this is a game and it's about having fun. And whatever, gets you in the right space to play and have fun is really the important thing. And you shouldn't necessarily set yourself either an unrealistic or an uncomfortable expectation to fulfill in order to feel like you're doing it right.
Agreed. I was going to say, they can't all be as good as we are on a regular Monday basis. And so don't use that as your measure for success.
That wasn't quite what I was going for, but yeah.
Yeah. Alex, were you going to
just that, I completely agree with Steve, about it is about having fun, and you get into it what you get out of it. Like Christopher's saying, a willingness to be silly in front of other people is one of the first things, and that's the important thing. You're here to have fun with your friends, and the energy that you put in is the energy the other participants will put out.
Yeah, and I think too, as much as we share the importance of like a session 0 and all of that, I think that there's even a session, -1 with yourself where you say, I'll do as much. I want to be this much, I really want to get in there and role play. But you also have to take into account that the person next to you may not.
Yep.
So, you need to role play as though they are, and, and get into it. And, what Christopher says, what's interesting is that when we brought this topic up, full disclosure, I wanted to talk about it because I find myself oftentimes with very little time to prepare because I've got 1,000 things happening all at once. And by the time I get to the actual play, I'm like, what? Who am I? What's the character?
That's my motivation.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so I'm looking for all those tips and those hints. But I think that this Christopher's, the willingness to be silly in front of other people is really what it's all about. It's just that sort of unbridled joy at doing the thing and doing it because you truly are enjoying it, and not necessarily depending on a cast of characters to get you through that. And if you approach it from that way, you'll even be more inclined to draw people into it and they'll engage, as opposed to kind of making it mandatory.
Yeah, it's not, and it's important to remember that everybody is there to have fun and to be supportive. If your group is not there to be supportive, don't play with them anymore.
Right.
Agreed.
Don't play with unsupportive people.
Yeah. The idea is you're all rowing the same direction, and you are all the same level of experience. You all bring something to the group that is exciting and is to be engaged with. So keep that in mind.
Right.
And it's a game. I mean,
exactly. It's a game.
Truly created for the purposes of having fun. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tempo asks, does this mean situations similar to ones like Spider-Man somehow being reduced to his boxers while still wearing his mask?
Well, that is a particularly silly situation, yes.
That is, sure.
But what I love about that situation is everybody who saw it is like, oh yeah, that's Peter again.
Right.
They're like, that wouldn't have happened to Doc Ock Spider-Man.
That's very clearly the real Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, and so I find myself too, as I look at my TTRPG existence and doing more actual plays and getting deeper into the hobby for work and also for fun. I find that in a busy time, really this is, I think, when you look at society in general, we are doing 1,000 different things. We are inundated on every level, from every surface, that there's something to be seen or to address or to know. It's a fire hose of information. I'm particularly keen on getting some from Chad and from you two. How do you knuckle down and just focus or step back and really, that's one of the things I love about pen and paper games is that you can have the pen and paper. I mean, it really is. It really is a chance to go analog. And so I'm curious from your perspectives what you do. Hey, RC, good to see you.
Ooh, RC's a mod now? That's cool.
Yeah, so I flagged him as a mod. There's a few other people who are on my mod list.
Yeah, I think, but getting into the swing of role playing, I think the important thing is to not boil it down to my character has an accent or my character has a voice. There are a lot of people who get in their head about, I don't have a good other accent, so I can't play another character.
Right.
Role playing isn't just a voice. It isn't just an accent. It is a characterization. So if you have trouble with accents and things like that, write down specific lines that your character says. Write down specific words that you associate with them. Start thinking in terms of, how educated is my character? What is my character's profession? What is the first thing they notice when they walk into a room? And have that characterization drive your acting, your drive-through and all that fun stuff. And it's even just as simple as having like a hand gesture that you make when you're speaking as that character, or having a little physical tick that you can latch onto that helps you get into the mindset of who you're speaking as.
Yeah,
this
that's all
is
true.
interesting. David Bullock mentioned earlier, I like to write out the mispronunciations. Which I'm presuming is like, yeah, it would be very smart to put together your idiosyncratic statements, your kind of interesting little bon mots or whatever, and even if they're, and just pick one and that's your catchphrase to kind of, like, I don't know what, it's Mumemo time or whatever.
Yeah, and that's good advice for GMs and players. GMs who need to immediately let players know who is speaking at a time, especially if you write a scene where you're talking to yourself multiple times, which always sucks.
Which, is tricky.
Yeah, make sure you have something that denotes the different characters that you're portraying.
Ah, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So as the GM, what do you do to kind of do you have a kind of methodology to keep those characters straight? Or have you ever like started out with like the Russian accent and then realized that you've transferred that over to the cook? Or
I often try. I honestly don't try to do accents very much because it usually just backfires on me. I get them screwed up, or it just comes out sounding weird, or.
Yeah, it's curious. I'm wondering how you would prepare for that. Like flashcards or something, or like
I mean, it is nice to have a reference sheet behind the screen for things that you specifically do for specific characters, or even in your player notes. Like these are the things that my character does that I don't necessarily do myself, but that lets people know that my character is talking.
Yeah.
It's about good note taking. It's about practice. It's about getting into the right headspace and trying to isolate yourself from distractions while you're playing.
Yeah,
got you.
agreed.
Do you ever find that you are that you think, oh, now I'm going to enter into quiet time and I'm going to sit and focus, and you bring your phone with you, or like there are some, you got to be very intentional about that, right? I mean, because it can just sneak in.
Sure.
No matter what. I do want to recognize Claude's got some really great comments, and I think this is some important stuff, and that is, role play is a muscle, and the more you do it, it's challenging.
It's a skill like anything else.
Yeah, and it's challenging though. It's one of those skills that you have to learn in front of the audience. It's there's no substitution for that. Claude also says scary mummy doctor nightmare man is more of a vibe than a voice. Yeah, okay, I dig that, and then this is just a word to the players. If your GM's trying on some new voices and trying to get that stuff down, go easy. Don't necessarily start ripping into them because they sound like the Swedish chefs.
That's exactly what we're talking about in terms of a supportive environment. Is give everybody a break on their role playing. Try not to make fun of people. I mean, sometimes something is just going to strike everybody funny and is going to crack everybody up, but that's the group laughing together, hopefully, but don't like, give people, feedback on their, role playing in game.
Don't hand them the evaluation card.
If it's not something you can fix in 20 seconds, don't mention it.
Yeah.
Is generally my advice in life, just in general. But
that's right. That's right.
And I think it's important to give yourself the ability to play, to reach with things, and to settle in on, okay, I'm going to attempt being this kind of character this time. Or, thinking of a different education level, thinking of a different profession, thinking about all kinds of different things about that character that could inform how they speak.
Yeah. So, Alex, I want to talk about a notion that I've experienced, which is, and I don't know if other folks have run into this sort of experience in role playing, but what we can call third person narration versus first person narration in role playing. A lot of times, role players will be in first person mode, where it's all I statements. As the character, I do this, I think or feel that, and their voice is the character's voice. And other players will have a step removed from that, and they will talk about the character in third person, and they will say, the character, like they will say, firepower does this, he feels this, he is thinking this, but they're talking about that character as separate from them. And even we'll say things like he says this, in order to make it clear that's his dialogue. versus them as the player talking. And do you find that different players adopt those styles?
Definitely, especially people who are less comfortable with role playing. I think it helps them to have a little bit of separation from themselves and the role that they're playing. I think both are great and valid ways to play your character. I personally prefer to have things consistent with everybody. So I like to have that discussion in session 0. How do we want to role play? But it's important to meet people where they're at. So if everybody in the group isn't on board with a specific thing, giving that one person grace who is like, I need to be third person because I think it's weird to be in first person, or it makes it feel a little too real for me.
I bet there's a lot of inadvertently doing that.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't even aware they're doing one or the other. They just sort of slip into it.
Yeah, and some people will switch back and forth depending on if it's a dialogue heavy scene or if it's an action heavy scene.
Heavy. Yep.
Actually, this is a very interesting a tactic or something to employ to put into your toolbox, and that is the Zatran says, I still play with my friends from college, and they've seen me do some way more embarrassing stuff than role play. So I guess really assemble a team of people that have just really seen you at your worst, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
That's generally good advice. I do have one other actor thing that I think is important to think about when you're role playing, and that is be in the moment. Don't be thinking about what clever thing you're going to say next. Listen to what everybody else is saying and react naturally. Don't be 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody else in the conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works when your character is supposed to be smarter than everybody else, or that is a flaw that they have. But
sometimes though, it gets you stuck in a particular mode where you had something in mind you wanted to say, but that opportunity passed like a minute and a half ago, and now you're kind of stuck on but I wanted to say that thing, but now it's too late, and you can't really force the conversation back to that.
Claude mentions that I do talking about the third person, first person switch, and that he does a lot of that for technical explanations. I do the same. Yeah. So my So
there's a lot of sort of technical aspects to role playing that are worth considering in that regard. There are 2 that I'm thinking of. One is what Aaron Alston, who's a very famous RPG writer and GM, he used to call the recap button. Which was, oftentimes that the groups are separate or whatever, a lot of information needs to be conveyed to the characters, but the players were all present for it. The players would just say, okay, we take, so Bowman aside and we hit the recap button and we explain to him everything that he missed. So now the player can actually act like Bowman knows everything the player saw happen.
Like the group's getting exposition from one character, like GM's explaining something to one character about what they know, and then the player's like, I tell everybody else that.
That's the other one is what I refer to as the parrot effect, which is exactly that, where the GM tells usually one character, here's what you know about this, and then the player just says, okay, I say that to the rest of the characters, because it would be ridiculous for them to simply just repeat it all verbatim.
Exactly. And you'll often see people ask, can I just, they know this all, right? Because
they all know this, right? I can just tell them that.
You're going to make me repeat it to them exactly the way you just said it to me.
If you want the conveying information to be important part of your role playing, you have to take the parrot effect into account and either prepare, and different ways I've seen GMs deal with this, either prepare briefings for the players in advance that are basically, here is your cheat sheet on key things your character knows that are going to come up in this adventure. And generally it's to make it obvious enough so that they know, oh, it's this thing when that comes up. Either that or you just number them and say, okay, this is note number 2.
One of the things I've done in that instance, when you are there's a recounting going on, but you're not going to do it all. Is that I will snap into a, so there you go. I don't know what we're going to do about this. Like just so that it's the ending conversation to kind of round everybody up and say, now we know what are we going to be doing, and pretend as though I did all of that. And it works out really well as far as continuity goes. It feels like we're picking up in that space, but not having to hear the whole thing over again. We got some great comments here.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Drama Dark. I think I go back and forth between the two for sure. John Plogic says, do not be intimidated playing a genius character just because you may not be a genius. Watching MCU Tony Stark shows that super intelligent heroes can still make multiple bad choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's like the fourth smartest guy in his universe.
Absolutely. And
now
that's another area where players should be able to fall back on the game mechanics. And say, hey, my character has an intellect of 10 and got a plus 12, plus 18 bonus in this skill. I should know this, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's boy, I've worked with some geniuses who were just very smart, but not very good at playing games, or not, like they had their specialties.
Well, I think
I would say no one will know. I mean, no one will know you're not a genius.
And I think it taps into something that really helps you get into character when you're playing a character who's really smart like that, or a character who is different from you capability-wise, is what does that character believe about the world that is incorrect? And how does that inform their actions?
Right.
Finding something that you yourself know to be factually false that your character believes is a great place to find motivation. It's a great place to find what they would do.
Yep.
Also, bonus tip, if you find yourself explaining your actions because it's something my character would do, make a better character.
Yeah, oftentimes.
Sure. Now, here's something that Apook says, which is, I think, like amazingly by the book and kind of fun and also subversive at the same time. And that is, sometimes it is fun to reinterpret the information for the other players, especially if the players heard the GM give you the information first.
And that's an interesting element because there are two different approaches to that. One is giving the player the information secretly so that they can choose to withhold information or reinterpret it in their own fashion and the other players don't know. Or to give it to them openly and let them do the same thing so that the other players do know that their character is clearly lying. And that gets into the interesting dynamic of the players in an RPG being both actor and audience at the same time. And you can play around with that if your players are especially good at separating their personal knowledge from the character's knowledge. That can actually be a lot of fun. Just as we, the audience, get to see some foreboding thing that the protagonist doesn't know. And that enhances our, drama in the story. That can be a great experience for the players, as long as it isn't going to be one of the players is like, no, we know you're lying. Like,
right.
You
gotta know your group.
If the players can't play along with that, that's going to be a problem.
No, Steve, you brought up the notion of the player is the player and the audience, and it got me thinking about part of the reason why this was a discussion I wanted to have with the folks in chat and with you two in general is that we're we do a lot of live streaming. We're doing a lot more as we move forward, and we're guests on other live streams.
Yep.
I find that I am I'm at a loss for those moments at times where I'm like, okay, I really feel like I should be doing a voice, but I just can't do it. You know what I mean? Like so I'm curious from your side of the fence when you're, and also we've got people who were running actual plays all the time and they're live. And so I'm interested in those thoughts as well. But, what changes when you are doing an actual play in front of a digital audience versus around the table from your perspective? Like, what are some things to consider and, or am I overthinking this?
Well, I guess to me, it depends on the degree to which you want to engage the non-player audience. I admit that generally speaking, I don't do anything different in an actual play than I do in a live game that doesn't have an audience. I have a tendency to try and just sort of ignore the audience and focus on the game as far as that goes, because otherwise I find things very distracting. And it's hard to pay attention to the stream of audience comments and interactions and focus on the game at the same time, at least for me. So I tend to just shut out that there's an audience and focus on the game. But I know groups and streams that do want to engage their audience in different ways. And I think if I were looking to do that, the thing I would be looking to do is basically having sort of a deputy game master who's in charge of that interaction, who can do things like, we're gonna, give the audience a chance to vote on things or poll them for things or give them a chance to bid on things, and that person's job would be to interact with the audience in that way and then convey that information to their co-game master to say, okay, the decision has been made that it's X. And, the co-game master doesn't have to see the whole discussion. They just know this is the decision that's been reached. This is how the story has to go.
Very interesting. So it's kind of almost like the technical GM or something, like the wrangling. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like a stage manager, as opposed to a director, if you will.
So, a question for folks who love watching actual plays, and I know that that is very many of you in chat today. What is the thing that you enjoy watching when people are playing? Is it the playing? Do people spend a little too much time, you think, thinking or putting on a performance? And would you rather see people just kind of get to business, or do you appreciate a kind of a well-delivered or even mediocrely delivered accent, all in fun? I'm interested in that.
That reminds me of another issue in game as well, is that you will often run into that conflict within the player group. Is you have dramatic players who want to role play, and they will play this scene out for as long as you will let them. And you have other, shall we say, action-oriented players who are just like, can we just move on to the next thing? Like, are we going to talk about this forever? Or are
please
we
let me punch somebody?
You're right. Please let me hit something, or at least please let me do something other than just talk about it.
And both characters can, when I say characters, I'm speaking specifically to the humans operating the heroes or, whatever, that they can both engage in some behaviors that are destructive to the actual role play of the role play,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
and that's important.
That's more getting into pacing than role playing. It's sort of on the game master a lot of the time you can tell when a scene has run its course and it's time to move on. And sometimes the players who are in that moment don't necessarily have that experience, but you as the outside observer should be able to be like, okay, we'll continue this conversation at another point, or let's go on to the next thing, or the bad guy kicks down the door and it's time to fight.
If ever there was a time for people to develop a keen sense of self, is when you are in the midst of this stuff and you may be feeling all of it, just every role play moment of it. But you might have also overstayed your welcome at the microphone.
That's another big thing for role playing that I like to encourage players to do, is to look for times that you can put the spotlight on your other players.
That's
look for ways that you can help prop up other people to make them do cool things, or look for ways. Don't tell them how to play their character, because that's not, people don't like that.
Right.
But look for moments you're like, oh, that character would be good at this, and if I wingman for this, I can make that happen.
Right.
Alex, you mentioned this some time ago, and it's something for me that resonates with me just spiritually, and as a person that enjoys ensemble work, I think that it's important when you are playing in an actual play that you actually tee something up for someone, and just be that. It's sort of like yes and, but like yes you and really passing the ball off, and I think and enjoying that moment. I think it really creates a dynamic amongst the whole crew that is fun.
And especially in Mutants and Masterminds, one of the great sort of collaborative opportunities for players is in terms of their characters' complications, because one of the best elements of complications is that the players ultimately have control over them. And it can be helpful for both the individual players to just say, hey, this sounds like a place where my character's complication would come into play. but also for the other players to say, hey, Alex, doesn't this sound like something where your character's complication would come up?
Yes. I was hoping the GM wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the best part about that is always, if Alex doesn't want that complication in play, he can just say, yeah, I don't want the hero point. Like, can we just skip it?
Yeah, and and I'm imagining there are just as many, if not more, people who are ready to go. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well,
that-
exactly, because it's in the heat of the game. It's often you lose track of those things.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have. Let's see.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
there really is. Yeah, yeah. Your own character sheet and all the things you've got to think about, your backstory and all of that. But then also how things change and shift and how much space you give the people around you is a complication that, all that stuff is, it's quite a bit of, it's some complex math to be sure.
And my favorite players are the ones who are selfless, the ones who are like, this is a cool moment for you. Go do this cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
And players who know when is good for other people and when is good for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things I love too is when you see, when I'm watching an actual play, I love it when another character validates something about the other character. You know what I mean? Like they have a fear of a thing, or they have that they are protective of that moment, or they are facilitating, the good thing that they appreciate. And that does suggest, I think, that, getting good at that back and forth as you're role playing means knowing who their characters are. And
well, those sorts of moments also give an opportunity to throw light on the other characters. If a character has a particular complication, like a phobia, for example, and that fear is simply paralyzing them in this instance, then it's an instance for the other characters, for the protective character to try and step in and help protect them. But for the, rage monster character to be like, I am furious at whatever has caused this to you. I'm going to go smash it, and for the characters to demonstrate who they are in relationship to how they react to this situation.
That's some really powerful engagement to watch play out, and I'll say that for me, the comments are great. I'm with you. Zatred says, I love a good accent, but a bad one will chase me right off, and I'm with you on that. It can be, I like the leaning into the funny and that kind of stuff, but there have definitely been times where I'm just like, you should really stop. I'm saying that to myself as I'm trying to do a French accent. But let's see. Gerald says, I like when people get into character. I don't need a funny voice to go along with it. Yeah, that's true. You can be you getting in character, having a reaction, that is, a summation of that, of what your hero is supposed to, be or do. And it doesn't have to be exact. But in the telling of the story, it happened exactly that way. So, I like that. Gene mentions, I like seeing the play. Yeah, really, that's what it boils down to, too, is that there are people, when, you want to sit and watch a Mutants Mastermind stream, you want to see some Mutants and Masterminds action, some rules in play and some dealing with things like your complications. RC says, I generally try to save audience interaction to the beginning, intermission, and at the end of a stream. Yeah. It's, house rules on that one, because for me, I am compelled to acknowledge the person, and it's primarily because of Mutants Masterminds Monday. When I see them in chat, I want to say, I see you. Right. But, it's that kind of sometimes makes a mess of the plot line. Let's see. There was a character I thought about doing an English accent for a live stream. Sadly, my voice was gone, so I threw that plan right out. Yeah, I don't know if I could sustain an accent for that long.
Yeah.
But to that end, when you are when a person is playing a character outside of their, they have a British accent, or they're from another place that has a a known kind of cadence. And,
sure.
What are some shorthand things that people can do to do that, but not be stuck talking Cockney for the entirety of the campaign?
If you have trouble with accent work, and you want to play a character who is from another place, my recommendation is to pick up terminology from that place.
Yep.
And incorporate that. Use the sort of language they would use rather than leaning just into the sound your voice is making.
Right. such as, using Britishisms, for a character who's from England,
Yeah.
or if the character is speaks a particular foreign language, pick up a few catchwords, and, just having the Russian characters call, friends tovarish, can be enough to remind everybody that, this guy has a Russian accent, even though, the player may not be doing it all the time.
Right. RC Tuesday, innit? Yes. I like that. Gene recommends giving each player their own villain. I like that. All at once. Just
Yeah.
You can sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually something I like to ask at session 0 is, does your character have a nemesis, and do you want them to show up in the story?
Right.
Yeah. That really, for the character that I created for our internal game, it was so fun to walk down this path of like, who is my evil robot brother? It was really, really fun.
Domo and demo. We need to get back to that.
We really do. Yeah, Domo and demo. What
Just need the
happens if
universe to
villains
quit
team
kicking us in the face every now and then.
up? Right, exactly. Honestly. Hey, speaking of getting kicked in the face, did you know? That's a horrible transition.
Right.
But listen, we do these live streams out of love, but we do them also because they're fun, and we appreciate you coming by and hanging out. But do me a favor, would you, chat and listener and pal, would you double check to see that you are subscribed? If you're over on Facebook, if you're over on, I don't know why you'd be watching on X, but if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on any of these places, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the link with a friend. That helps us remind the algorithm that we exist.
Yes.
And that there is indeed other things outside of Dungeons and Dragons on YouTube. There's a whole host of TTRPGs, and we're one of them.
We exist. Love us.
We exist, algorithm. But that all helps a great deal. And, and if there are comments or questions that you have as you're listening right now, Friends on Demand, and you're not necessarily glued to the live chat, leave a comment. And also feel free to ask a question that is unrelated to the subject at hand. We will, get in there and engage with you. And all that helps a great deal, regardless of what platform you're on. So take a minute, give us the thumbs, give us all the thumbs.
Give us your thumbs.
Hearts. Yeah, give us your thumbs, give us your hearts, give it to us, all of it. I want to mention that after this program, we will be kicking off the Valiant preview of it.
Yes.
And we will be inviting you. We are in the midst of a big transition. We are moving from Patreon to the Atomic Think Tank. And
Yes.
it is gangbusters. It is going so well. People are very excited. It is going to be our new home for community stuff in general. If you are somebody who has done, maybe you were a freebooter, maybe you're somebody who is participating in our Age Graders Alliance or many of the other kinds of programs that we've got, we're going to have a little space carved out for you in that Mighty Networks tool that we're using. I really like it a lot. It's very easy to pick up. People are very engaged, and that's where we're going to be doing a lot of the fun Patreon stuff. Now, here's the deal. There is this weird time right now where we're doing the people who are coming over from the Patreon get 3 free months, and the people who are signing up and want to be a part of it, I don't know what to do with those folks. If they want to be a part of the membership, but we're not charging membership for the next 3 months, should I give it to them for free? I don't know.
I mean, that's always my inclination, but I'm terrible at business in that regard. If it was just me, I would be giving away all our stuff for free.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely the same. Yeah. I think, I think what I'll do is I'll leave it up to the existing folks who came over from the Patreon and let them weigh in.
That seems fair.
And we'll do it that way. And that's just one of the many ways that we're going to be leaning into working with the patrons to. We're not calling you patrons anymore. I don't know what we need to think of a good name for you. The I don't know what. The tanks or something. But
the Masterminds is right there.
It
right?
really is. It is. But I
Or the
feel
Master
like
Mooks.
Right.
Like we called out Pook earlier.
Master Mooks. I worry about borrowing from from the headline. But anyway, if you've got some thoughts on that, friends, let us know over there at the Atomic Think Tank. And pretty soon I'll drop a link, and you can, the Family Atomics. I like that. You can join in the fun. But yeah, so we've got big things happening. It is just nonstop. Right. This is really fun. Zatran says, meanwhile, someone in a suit just broke out in a cold sweat at the word free. The cold sweat part at the word free for sure, but there's nobody wearing a suit.
I was just going to say, I have literally
None
never
of those
seen
companies.
anyone appearing in a suit. So
No suits. The minions, sure, absolutely. Claude wants to call them the minions. I don't know what's going on, but I've got I'm all stuffed up all of a sudden. All of this emotional discussion.
you've all verklempt.
I'm all verklempt. But yeah, so let's see. Jumping back into the conversation, Zatran says, speaking of reminding people of things, actual plays are hard to get into after they've been running for a while. A quick recap during intermissions and maybe some... Yes.
Sure. Sure.
I really like to have a blog post up on our website for recaps for what happened in previous seasons or previous story arcs. Even just to help future me when I'm planning what's going to happen next time we come back to those characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think also an acknowledgement as somebody who has not been in the game, for as long as some of us on this program, there are things to remind yourself. You want to presume that people are watching what you're doing for the first time, like that. If you do that, you appeal to everyone, and that's the thing.
Even in my in-person tabletop games, I usually start off each game with a previously sort of quick summary. Like last time, this is what happened.
Yeah, I like making a player do that just so I can
figure out what they know.
Yeah, I can glom onto what they thought was important, and listen to theories if they have theories about things, and be like, "Oh yeah, that is true. You're right. I'm a genius."
Right.
So talking more about
you may praise me.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, that was my plot the whole time.
I like it. Smart. Speaking of farming praise, when you got an audience that is, because is it rarer than it's rarer to have a live audience? But Alex, you've experienced that in the past, haven't you?
Yeah,
like a live audience when you're doing an actual play of some kind.
Yeah, I've run a game in front of a live audience before, which is always strange, but it's cool though. It's interesting being able to feed on the energy of the people in the room in a way that isn't necessarily the case with online, where they're just voices in the chat box that not everybody is looking at.
Yeah.
It's easy to psych out your players that way, having the people looking at their faces. So keep that in mind. Make sure you pick people who have, at least some comfort in being observed.
Right.
Sure. This is a great idea. Apug mentions that in his group, they offer the player the opportunity to do the recap for everyone in exchange for a hero point. I do think that there's a certain amount of opportunity that the GM should consider about capacity building. And really giving people that opportunity to flex and share that kind of stuff, because that's something they'll take with them to their next game and their next game and their next game. Yeah, that's such a great idea. Let's see. Oh yeah. RC mentions for my streams, I've started to try. I've started trying to do a previously on like for the main podcast, but it's a little harder to scrub the previous episodes for clips. That's true.
Yeah, that is hard. I tried to just take my notes and write up a recap of each episode that I give at the beginning of each episode, and then I tend to take those written notes and compile them into the blog post that is the general recap of everything.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Gene mentions maybe links to actual plays will be good. Claude says, my mage ST does an edutainment bit at the end of each session where each player talks about what their character learned and stuff they liked as a player. Yeah. And he reads it back to us at the next game. I like that. I do like that. I think it can be very difficult to incorporate because at the end of a 4, 5, 6 hour session, and you're like, okay, now let's recount. But it is I think an important part of the just the hygiene of a campaign. Let's see.
Yeah.
Rufus says another fun thing is to vote at the end of games on favorite moment. Yes, that's good. That's good. No rules.
That is fun.
Votes gets a hero point. I like that. I do also like the idea of incorporating the hero point stuff as part of the off the beat encouragement to engage. I like that a lot. Okay, so what I'm always on the hunt for. I don't know if it's my particular brand of ADHD, but I love a pen and I love a form. I love a little box that I can fill with words. It is, but then I'm reminded as well that sometimes just writing it down is 90% of the battle. Don't wait for the perfect box to come by with the buttery writing pen. But how do you have you written with a pen that's nice and smooth and buttery?
Yeah. I've never heard of it described that way, but yes, I know what it's like to have a good pen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
buttery.
It's buttery. Yeah, it just feels smooth.
Like butter.
Yeah, just shellac.
Like butter. Yeah. So
snatched
my question, snatched. Well, maybe that might be a little different. But depending on what you're wearing as you're using your buttery pen. What, and this goes for chat as well. What are some of the ways that you kind of keep yourself maintaining the character arc that you've got, and when do you come to terms? Because there are times when at the very outset of an actual play, I'm all in. I've got all my ducks in a row, and by the end I'm like, oh, that duck's got to go, or I forgot about that duck, so I'm going to cross that one off. And how do you
that's
incorporate
hard.
that? Yeah.
That is definitely. There's a couple of ways I go about it. I'll either do some reflection myself at the end of a story arc to say, what has my character learned? What are some opportunities for growth? Do I think that they grew at all from the experiences they just suffered? Or are they doubling down on the thing that they believe to be incorrect about the world? And it's just a lot of feeling out for me. It's sort of it's not really a process. It's just, do I feel like my character learned their lesson, or did they learn the wrong lesson?
Right. Yes. Right. Excuse me. Claude mentioned I'm doing everything in my power to rid myself of the sniffles before tonight's actual play. What's happening tonight, Claude? I'm curious. Are you doing an M&M actual play?
And, sounds like he's going to be on Masks of Mayhem.
Are you on Masks of Mayhem? That's what it sounds like. Good. I love that crew. Every last one of them. I always love hanging out with them. So fun. They're just great.
Tell Pope I say hi. I miss them.
Yeah. Where's Pope?
I haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah. Not in chat. I bumped into Pope every once in a while on the Discord, but tell Pope how to do. Steve, you're going to say something?
I was going to completely agree with Drama Dork. I always type and print out my notes. I will brainstorm in handwriting sometimes, but I don't usually do my game notes in my handwriting, because there's nothing worse than being in the middle of the game and being like, what the hell's this say?
What is wrong with me?
Right.
That's awesome. Oh, good deal. That's awesome. RC, we'll is it live? I know that you've written it on the schedule over at the Atomic Think Tank, and I get those alerts, which is very nice. Another great thing about that whole thing. Nice. But yes, nice, awesome. We'll check it out for sure. And you got a great cast: Claude, Goldie, Joe, Carp, and Quinn.
Hey, Joe's from USP. We love Joe.
Oh yeah, Quinn just did a fundraiser. Is that right? That's yeah. But it was so much fun. We were on the, oh gosh, I'm gonna get this wrong. It was a sort of knockoff of the Magic School Bus, and we went into a body and had to,
fantastic voyage
into the unknown.
Very, very fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of vodka had been consumed as well.
I do want to give an example of sort of
please.
Character development while sticking to a story arc. One of the characters I played, Crucible, started the campaign in college in a degree that he hated because it made his dad happy. And I set that up as a plot point that I wanted to explore for that character, was changing majors to something that he wanted it to be. At the beginning of the campaign, he wanted to be an art major, but through his journey as a superhero, he eventually came to the point realizing that a lot of the reason the Stormers were choosing to do crime and things like that was because of a lot of disparity in the system. And when it came time to have the scene where he explained to his dad, "I'm changing my major," I talked to the GM beforehand, but we surprised all the other players when he said he wanted to go into social work instead of art, which was the story informing character, as opposed to the character informing story, which was that was a really nice change for him and a really nice bit of growth from the beginning of the character being sort of self-centered into understanding that he comes from a wealthy background and he has an opportunity to make the world a better place if he applies himself that way. So that was a fun way of checking in with the character, checking in with the plot that was going on, and finding a roleplay point that could feed into the drama and feed into his journey, which was a ton of fun.
And the story informing the development of the character is really one of the best things about role-playing. Is those unexpected moments where things just sort of come together and you just have these character epiphanies and you're like, wow, like this is a whole totally different view of this character that I hadn't really thought about, but it just changes things. And that's really, where a lot of the magic of the whole game process is.
And that really makes the role playing a lot easier when you let the story sort of steer occasionally.
Right, there's an authenticity in it, right? There's an acknowledgement of that you're listening and you are engaged, both as yourself and as the hero that you are playing. That's important stuff. Thank you, RC. Dropped the link for the Masks and Mayhem stream. Do check it out. A lot of our favorite people are playing in that this evening. And hey, I can't believe it. It's 5 minutes before the show is over. I am.
How did this happen?
How does this happen? And why does it happen?
Who allowed this?
Let's just keep talking about this topic. It's fine.
It really is a good discussion, and I find that there's a lot of, it's much like when you think of getting trained for CPR or getting, it is that the ounce of prevention, sort of like thinking about these things, and sometimes that's enough. And if you, and also acknowledging that it's not always going to go the way that you had originally thought it would, and and let that move you, let that take you.
I think that is just tying back to one of the first things we talked about. Follow the fun, follow the silly.
Yes,
let yourself go along that journey. And that's the best. It's one of the best parts about playing these games.
I think it's get a good grasp on your character, but hold them loosely. Don't become, get a good sense as you build out your character's background, who they are, but don't get too attached. And like Alex says, let the story sort of inform things, and you may, suddenly decide, you get a very different view of that character as you play them and discover interesting things about them that you hadn't realized.
And that is the beauty of TTRPGs. It's can be incredibly meaningful and scratch all the right itches and do all the great stuff. You just gotta do a little bit of that work and be ready for it. Hold on loosely, but don't let go. That's right.
Thanks for the earworm, Stan. That's going to be with you the rest of the evening.
So hey, listen, we are.
It's 38 special, right?
Is it 38 special? Who is that?
It? I don't know.
I think so.
I
might be wrong.
In my head. I don't. It's something like that. Stan will know.
Yeah.
But don't let go.
I'm trying to think. Well, listen to this as Alex is bringing forth his.
Stands as it is.
All right, nice. It is 38 special.
I like 38 special.
Stan is a wealth of song and dance, and I know this because Stan and I do a podcast. We've been doing it now for I think Stan, has it been 2 years? Holy smokes! Time flies when you are commenting on sumo. Stan and I do a sumo podcast together, and
I have zero frame of reference for that.
Right.
We every Friday, sometimes Tuesdays and Fridays when the boss show. That's a match for those who don't know. It is. We have a lot of fun. It's great stuff. I get to ask a bunch of stupid questions, which is really my only superpower. And Stan, who has May will be 2 years. Look at that. Nice.
And Stan, in his infinite patience, gets to go, well, Troy.
Yes.
As you may know.
Stan is the perfect teacher, also perfectly immune most times to my shenanigans. And so, yeah, so what time is it? It's time for sumo. But yeah, so we check us out Fridays generally, and some Tuesdays 7 p.m. Pacific, and just hop on and hang out with us, and we have a lot of fun. And you really will learn some stuff. It's really presented in a way that's I've learned way more than I had any business. I came into it not a huge sumo fan, but I've seen a sumo suit at a corporate convention every here and there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really great, and it's sumo's been around for thousands of years. It's it's just unreal. It's really great. But in that same vein, Steve, what's going on in the Steve Kenson cinematic universe?
Let's see. It's, I hate to say, it's the same old song, but we're still working on fun, valiant stuff. For me, it has been reading and writing about Punk Mambo from the Valiant universe today, particularly.
Nice.
That expression of Alex was like, did I assign Punk Mambo to you?
It's okay if we double read, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, hey, it's useful information.
SC Terran, you're very welcome for the stream. Alex, what's going on in your world? Was that all, Steve?
That's the key thing.
Was that it?
There's a couple of cool things going on. I've got the finale of my Thanksgiving one shot on Wednesday. This will be part 4 of my Thanksgiving one shot in March. So happy St. Patrick's Day from Thanksgiving.
From Thanksgiving, right?
Oh shoot, Alex, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have another. Do we have another finish? Kind of another round of the last actual play we did with the.
Yeah, we probably should schedule that. That'd be good. We should. Yeah, we should figure out when we're going to do. I think that was my Halloween one shot.
I think it might have been. Yeah. Anyway.
So happy October, happy November, happy March. We do have a new Astonishing Adventure that is about to come off of the press. Troy, do you care if I share the cover image of that real quick?
I would demand that you do so.
Please do.
Just to be a little bit extra. Maybe. Here we go. Oh, I don't know if I can make that bigger.
If you can resize that window like you would, kind of make it a smaller box, but
let's see. How do I make you bigger?
So if you make the window smaller, the image will get bigger. If you make there you
go.
There we go. Science.
Right.
Nice.
Yes.
Are they dancing?
No, they're fighting mummified baboons.
Oh,
like you do.
Boy. As you do.
Yeah, but this will be the Titan City Chronicles, the Lost Library.
Look at that logo.
Look at that.
Down there doing Titan City stuff. So
wow.
We're gonna be heading back to 1928 to fight some mummies looking for the Lost Library of Alexandria.
Right.
This is great, and I love it. And I just want to acknowledge this is what a great moment. This is your kind of proprietary. I mean, your sort of
Alex's creation.
Your slice of the Mutants Masterminds thing, and that we're publishing it official is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I can't wait for you all to meet the characters within. There's a Greek librarian mummy who's lost his marbles. There's a tough Egyptian archaeologist woman who is in over her head, who needs some help from some local heroes, and there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's a fun adventure.
Something I would love to do in the future, Alex, and many people may already be kind of apprised of this, but I'd love to just do a Titan City Chronicles Moo Ammo, just to talk about it. What's out there? What's it about? What's it made of? I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I'm down for that.
I like that.
Alex can tour us through his fabulous map.
That's right.
It's a good map. It's a really good map.
It's a great
super strong map. And Mastermind Pook says mummified baboons throw mummified poo. Indeed they do. What was
Gerald, this is a modified version of the scenario I use for the 1999 Mummy movie game at Origins. And I ran an actual play of it on USP, so
very
it's
nice.
Slightly modified to fit into the Titan City setting instead of using Brendan Fraser, but it's a ton of fun.
It's still part of the Brendan Fraser multiverse, however.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. This is for our friend David Bullock says, selfish question, Thursday? Yes, we're on for Thursday. I promise you, we're going to have Merrick on. Merrick is, kicking off a new season of the Hellbreakers, and that's just one of the coolest people out there just kind of kicking around in the world. And so we'll talk about that and a bunch of other stuff. So yes, do tune in Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here in this very same spot. Oh, sorry guys, I got y'all crammed over there in the corner. It will be a delight and a joy to behold. So do join us. And with that, I say, I think we're done, gents. We've given them 4 extra bonus minutes, and we're not even going to charge them.
Exactly.
All right, friends. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Thursday. We'll be watching those actual plays. And if you're over on the Patreon, make sure you get to the Atomic Think Tank. You're missing out on some good stuff. With that, I say I do.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.